In the past, they were isolated archipelagos, simple coral reefs barely visible at high tide. Now, there are gigantic military bases capable of hosting fighter jets, missiles, and warships. This isn't science fiction, but a troubling reality unfolding before our eyes in the South China Sea. What's happening in these waters? How are these artificial islands built? What is China's true goal? And above all, what is the impact on the global geopolitical balance? To find out, stay until the end of this video. Together, we're going to dive into the heart of one of the most daring and controversial geopolitical maneuvers of our century. Let's go! The setting for this story is the South China Sea, a vast expanse of water stretching over millions of square kilometers, dotted with hundreds of small islands, reefs, and atolls. For centuries, these areas were traditional fishing grounds and stopovers for sailors. But since the early 2010s, human activity here has taken on an entirely different dimension. China, claiming almost the entirety of this sea via its 9-dash line, has launched an unprecedented construction program. Imagine colossal dredging ships, veritable vacuums of the seabed, pumping millions of tons of sand and coral to pour them onto the reefs. Islands and land bases began to emerge where, just a few years earlier, only water existed. Among the most emblematic sites are the Spratly Islands and Paracel Islands. Names like the Fiery Cross Reef, Subi Reef, and Mischief Reef have moved from obscure nautical charts to geopolitical hotspots. On these new lands, giant cranes were at work, airstrips were appearing, and ports are taking shape. It's a true geomorphological revolution, a massive alteration of the marine landscape orchestrated at a staggering speed and scale. The goal initially stated by Beijing: civil facilities for scientific research, maritime rescue, and fishing. An idyllic version that would soon be put to the test by the reality of facts. While China's official statements spoke of purely civil objectives, the reality on the ground quickly contradicted these claims. Satellite images, made public by think tanks and intelligence agencies, revealed the scale of the militarization on these islands. Simple reefs have become fortresses. On these artificial islands, China has built airstrips long enough to accommodate strategic bombers and fighter jets. Armored hangars, fuel depots, barracks, long-range radar systems, and even missile systems have appeared. There's even talk of anti-ship and anti-aircraft missiles capable of threatening any ship or aircraft approaching these positions. The presence of electronic jamming systems and sophisticated radars confirms the military orientation of these installations. The objective is clear. These islands allow China to project its military power far from its mainland. They serve as forward bases for its Navy and Air Force, providing refueling points, surveillance, and force projection in a strategically crucial region. This is an anti-access aerial denial A2AD strategy aimed at making it difficult for opposing forces to access or maneuver within a given zone. In other words, China seeks to control the maritime and aerial routes of the southern China Sea. Why such a colossal investment to transform atolls into bases? The answer lies in several major strategic points. First, the mastery of maritime routes. The South China Sea is a highway of global trade. About 1/3 of global maritime traffic and trillions of dollars in goods pass through it every year. Middle Eastern oil, manufactured goods from Southeast Asia, raw materials, everything passes through here. Controlling this sea means holding a major key to international trade and the energy supply of many Asian countries. Next, natural resources. It's estimated that this region holds significant reserves of oil and natural gas, as well as abundant fishing resources. Seizing these islands gives China a considerable advantage in exploiting its wealth. This is also the claim of sovereignty. These artificial islands are a means for China to strengthen its historical territorial claims, which are often vague and contested. The Chinese 9-dash line, which encompasses almost the entire sea, is rejected by several neighboring countries: Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, Taiwan, and by international law. By building islands and installing a permanent military presence, China's attempting to create a fait accompli on the ground, modifying the geography to establish its claims. Finally, power projection. These bases allow the Chinese Navy plan to move further from its coasts, offering it a much faster deployment and reaction capability in the region, particularly against the United States and its allies. It's a giant step in China's assertion as the dominant maritime power in the Asia-Pacific. The construction and militarization of these islands have not failed to send a shockwave through the international scene. Neighboring countries directly affected by Chinese claims are on the front lines. The Philippines has been particularly vocal, having direct territorial disputes with China. Vietnam as well, with a complex history of relations with its powerful neighbor, feels threatened. The United States, the dominant power in the Pacific region, has firmly condemned these actions. They regularly conduct freedom of navigation operations, FONOPs, in the South China Sea, sending their warships and planes near the islands claimed by China to assert the principles of international maritime law and contest excessive Chinese claims. These operations are demonstrations of force and clear messages to Beijing. The South China Sea is not a Chinese lake. In terms of international law, the situation is complex. In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague issued a historic ruling in the case brought by the Philippines against China. The court ruled that Chinese claims based on historical rights, the 9-dash line, had no legal basis under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. It also stated that artificial islands built on submerged reefs did not generate a 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, EEZ. China categorically rejected this decision, calling it null and void, which further weakens the international legal order in the region. Beyond the military and geopolitical implications, another often underestimated aspect of this construction frenzy is the environmental cost. The methods used to create these islands are extremely destructive to marine ecosystems. The dredging of millions of tons of sand has literally wiped out entire coral reefs. Corals, which grow over thousands of years, are vital for marine biodiversity. They house a multitude of fish species and marine creatures, acting as nurseries and essential breeding grounds. Their massive destruction disrupts entire food chains and drastically reduces fish populations, directly affecting the livelihoods of local fishermen. Coastal erosion, increased water turbidity due to suspended sediment, and the loss of natural habitats for endangered species are all direct consequences of this artificial transformation of the marine landscape. Experts estimate that the damage caused is irreversible on a human scale. The creation of these military bastions comes at the cost of an incalculable ecological disaster, the repercussions of which will be felt for decades. So, what does the future hold for the South China Sea? The situation is a true balancing act. On one side, China pursues its strategy of strengthening its presence, arguing for its sovereignty and security needs. On the other, neighboring countries and global powers like the United States continue to contest this expansion, fearing an escalation and increased militarization of the region. What do you think? Are these constructions a threat or a necessity for China? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this exploration fascinated you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our videos. See you soon on aTech.